In 2019, I made one jumper design, and to sell it, I made a website, www.celestialcorner.shop. That year, I had an opportunity to move to the Philippines for work, and I met Chrissy. Chrissy and I became family very quickly. We would meet up and talk all about our plans to become wealthy and successful entrepreneurs with the goal of staying true to our creativity and giving others a platform to express theirs. We stayed up late one night in my apartment brainstorming our ideas on how to build a creative community like no other. Celestial Corner was reimagined and born again December 2nd, 2018. We launched our first line of sunglasses. I'm still so proud of these images and often turn back to them for inspiration. Fast forward to 2019, Celestial Corner had been ticking along in the background as my side hustle. Chrissy took on operations management and I oversaw the creative direction. We launched more styles, shot more shoots, and even got the opportunity to have our glasses featured in acclaimed digital magazine on Miss Doja. Then early 2020, COVID hit, and I was back in my apartment in Melbourne, stuck inside for almost an entire year. Chrissy and I used lockdown to manufacture our first line of Celestial Corner merchandise, partner up with our first designer, and did our first collaboration with a New Zealand-based photographer. We had achieved so much that year, but by October, I was deeply unhappy. I'd been watching all of my friends in New Zealand on social media, having fun and socializing, and the isolation of lockdown in Melbourne started to take over. I went searching for a reason to return home and came across vendor applications for Splore 2021, and that was my ticket out of there. If I got accepted as a vendor, I would go home just for 3 months to do my little pop-up and see my friends, or so I thought. I was accepted and started fundraising for the trip. I needed plane tickets, freight fares, vendor fees, public liability insurance, I needed a van, I needed to pay staff, I needed to manufacture more product, I needed funding. With the generosity of my family and my friends, I was on a flight on my way home. I had to go through 2 weeks in MIQ and then I would be free. In the last few days of managed isolation, New Zealand was put into a lockdown. Splore was postponed and the possibility of being cancelled was left looming over me. I was holding on to hope that I hadn't made a really stupid and expensive decision, and Chrissy and I just kept preparing for the event in hopes that it would go forward. We didn't really know what else to do at that time.
Part 2 coming soon. Does she make it to Splore? Oh my god.
Luckily, the lockdown lifted and the event went ahead. Splore was fun. Me and my best friends worked the store. We met a bunch of people that followed Celestial online and introduced hundreds of new people to Celestial Corner. And I got my first taste of IRL selling. I was hooked. As soon as the event was over, I extended my return date. I went searching for a pop-up space because I had totally overestimated how much stock I would need, and I wanted to sell a bunch of it before I moved back to Melbourne. Plus, I wanted the high of selling in person again. I found a shop space in St. Kevin's Arcade on Karangahape Road and submitted an application. Locked in some dates, signed a short-term lease, paid a fee, and started preparing for the pop-up. It was actually a much easier process than I had expected. The pop-up was a huge success. We did about $10,000 in sales across the 2 events, but more importantly, I started receiving proof of concept. People were complimenting the brand and our ethos, and I felt like people were finally starting to get it. As the last few days of the pop-up rolled around, I felt a desperate need to stay in the arcade. Karangahape Road felt like home, and I wasn't prepared to leave. I started questioning why I was even returning to Melbourne. It was just the right thing to do, to go home to all of my things and my family and my job, but I didn't want to go and my heart was here. So I called up the arcade and got some info on any upcoming vacancies, and they told me that there was one coming up in a few months' time. Perfect. I received all of the details and went through another process of receiving legal advice from my friends and family who are accountants, lawyers, real estate agents, spatial designers, tradesmen, and business people. I signed the lease and took my return flight back to Melbourne, but this time just to sell all of my things and pack up my life so that I could relocate here and carry out my plan to have a permanent retail space. Everything was looking good, and then, as it does, life threw me another curveball. I was faced with a huge personal crisis. I was pregnant to a man who had a track record of being I didn't fully acknowledge the feelings that were beneath the surface. I booked it and tried not to think about anything too much. Suppressing my emotions obviously did not work and eventually led to a psychotic break. I had returned to New Zealand to collect my keys to my new shop, and I barely went to the store for the first 2 months. Luckily, I have an incredible support system and network around me, and I was basically nursed back to health by 4 of my closest friends. During this time, I met Jero. Jero helped me feel safe again, which allowed me to refocus some of my energy back onto building the store. I reached out to some vendors that I had met at the Karangahape markets and some I had been scoping out on Instagram. I called on my friends with skill sets that I did not have. Georgia helped me design the shop and choose the colours. Joe helped me sort out my insurance, and Cody helped me with planning for the build that we were going to complete in stages as the money came through. I put a call out on Instagram for helpers and we started building the store. Trish, Gabby, Viper and I painted, tidied, tiled and organised everything. And on December 15th, 2021, we opened our doors to the public for the first time.
Well, that was a little bit intense, but life is a little bit intense sometimes, and there's always a happy ending if you wait long enough.
A few months later, Cody put the front window display plinth in and a slat wall. Chrissy sent over the neon sign and Jero came in to take our first lot of pictures. The shop was starting to take shape. In the background, Chrissy and I were working on our business plan, securing funding and finding a good accountant. We had an opportunity to take the lease for the St. Kevin's Arcade markets and started hosting the markets as a part of First Thursday on Karangahape, a monthly streetwide celebration. First Thursdays became our meeting point, a time where we could all get together, stall, hang out, catch up, and have fun. In August, our first round of funding that Chrissy and I had worked super hard on securing landed. We upgraded our tech. Cody, Scott, and Jackson helped us install stage 2 of the build. We put in a changing room, display units, a permanent rail, shelving, and a display fridge. At the exact same time as all of that was going on, Jero and I moved into a commercial property in Eden Terrace that we planned on using as a creative space for both Jero and I and for the Celestial Collective. Trish from Repairing Angels World and Caden from Vandal and Hound were the first to utilise the space and held a joint exhibition at our new Spaced Studios, which brings us pretty close to present day. We're not quite finished with the build of the shop yet, with the finishing touches still to be installed. We're still running the First Thursday markets in the arcade and getting bigger and better each month. We've been banging out photo shoots at Space Studios and offering opportunities to our collective to be creative and to be seen. December 15th, 2022 marks 1 year since we've been trading at the arcade. To make it this far has taken unbelievable amounts of faith, drive, and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of hard work from every single person that's been a part of our story so far. I know that it sounds like a good place to wrap up the video, but in true Celestial style, we're not quite done yet. We have another huge milestone to add to the bucket list.
December 5th, 2022, we hosted a pop-up shop in Wellington with Goodbye Clear.
It's a bit of a test to see if we have enough customers and creators to duplicate the business model in another place. I'd love to see a Celestial Corner shop, collective, and markets in Wellington next. We're still at the very beginning of our journey, and I'm so grateful to those of you who have been involved in any way so far. Thank you to the management team, Chrissy and Jero, and thank you to our brand partners for lending your creativity to Celestial. Thank you to our friends and family for pouring your expertise and support into this project and into me. And a special thank you to our customers who have also become our friends. Happy first birthday, Celestial. Here's to many more.